Russia's war against Ukraine will end soon if Europe contributes to reducing revenues from Russian oil. This was stated by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in an interview with Reuters. He emphasized that Washington will not impose additional tariffs on Chinese goods until European countries introduce high tariffs for India and China. We are talking about imposing tariffs ranging from 50 to 100%. The finance minister criticized some European countries for purchasing Russian oil. Bessent stated,
I guarantee you that if Europe imposes significant secondary tariffs on buyers of Russian oil, the war will end in 60 or 90 days.
Bessent added that the United States is ready to cooperate with European countries to consider tightening sanctions against Russian companies, including major oil companies such as Rosneft and Lukoil. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump accused Europe of not imposing tough enough sanctions against Russia. According to him, NATO and Europe are not doing their job as they continue to buy Russian energy resources. The American president emphasized that he is ready to increase pressure on Russia, provided that Europe takes corresponding actions. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said in an interview with Sky News that the only way to end the fighting is through clear and reliable security guarantees. In the opinion of the head of state, this is possible if U.S. President Donald Trump takes a principled stance and takes steps that would make the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin fear him. Zelenskyy emphasized that the United States is capable of providing Ukraine with enough air defense systems and adopting sanctions that would deal a powerful blow to the Russian economy.
U.S. President Donald Trump may meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy next week. This statement was made by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. According to him, no other leader in the world has done more to end this war than Trump. Rubio noted that the American president has held multiple phone conversations with the head of the Ukrainian state, and there have already been several personal meetings as well. The head of the U.S. State Department added that Trump and Zelenskyy will likely meet again next week in New York. According to Rubio, Donald Trump is trying to do everything possible to bring the war to an end. The U.S. Secretary of State also commented on the issue of imposing additional sanctions against Russia. According to him, the final decision will be made directly by U.S. President Donald Trump.
This will be Trump's decision. He won't beat around the bush.
Marco Rubio reminded that Donald Trump expects Europe to increase tariffs that will hit Russian oil. As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy stated, the United States of America must put pressure on the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and impose a powerful package of sanctions against Russia. In an interview with Sky News, the head of state called on the American president to take decisive personal action to stop Putin.
I believe that the U.S. is strong enough to make independent decisions. I believe that Donald Trump can provide us with the air defense systems we need, and the U.S. has enough of them.
Zelenskyy believes that the U.S. can impose sanctions that would deal a powerful blow to the Russian economy, and that Trump has enough strength to make Putin afraid.
On the morning of September 16th, a fire broke out in Moscow. Thick black smoke can be seen from several districts of the Russian capital. According to Telegram channels, the fire started on the grounds of the former ZIL factory. Soon it became known that the roof of a building under construction in the Chagall residential complex was on fire. According to SHOT, construction materials and debris on the roof caught fire. It is reported that the fire was successfully contained. Things are also tense in Vladivostok, Russia. On the morning of September 16th, the Shchitovaya district was cordoned off by the military and traffic police stopped all vehicles. According to public sources, local residents reported hearing loud noises. Soon after, the authorities in Vladivostok claimed that there had allegedly been gas equipment explosions in the Shchitovaya district. According to TSN, citing sources in the Shchitovaya settlement area, the main intelligence directorate eliminated occupiers involved in war crimes in Ukraine. There are reports of dead and wounded from the 47th Separate Air Assault Battalion of the 155th Separate Guards Marine Brigade, which took part in the battles near Kyiv, Vuhledar, Mariupol, and in the Kursk and Pokrovsk directions. In the evening of September 15th, the territory of the aggressor country, Russia, was once again attacked by drones. Local public pages reported loud explosions in Kursk. Later, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to have shot down 87 drones. Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed the strike on the Saratov oil refinery in Russia. The agency reports that the attack was carried out on the night of September 16th. Explosions and a fire were recorded in the area of the facility. The results of the strike are being clarified. As noted by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Saratov oil refinery specializes in producing more than 20 types of petroleum products. It is being reported that this particular enterprise is actively involved in the important process of meeting the various needs of the armed forces of the Russian Federation.
Russians have been advised to forget about easy trips to Europe for the next 10 to 15 years. According to the Telegram channel Kremlin Snuffbox, EU Commissioner Magnus Brunner confirmed and from the channel's perspective made several statements. On the one hand, he threatened to tighten visa restrictions for Russian citizens until the end of 2025. On the other hand, he said that the EU cannot completely ban the issuance of tourist visas to Russians. Kremlin Snuffbox writes that a representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry explained the situation as follows.
There will most likely not be a complete and official ban on issuing Schengen visas to Russian citizens, but traveling to Europe will become extremely difficult. Many will not be granted visas, and many will not be allowed to cross the border. This especially applies to well-known Russians. The West will definitely create problems for them.
Kremlin Snuffbox also refers to a source allegedly close to Vladimir Putin. Supposedly, he spoke in even stronger terms.
Frankly speaking, people will have to forget about traveling to Europe, I think for 10 to 15 years. And that's just as well. Why would a normal Russian even want to go there? In the West, you could be deceived, arrested, and so on. We don't need those visas. We have other priorities.
The Italian news agency ANSA reported that the European Commission may include in the 19th package of sanctions against Russia a ban on issuing tourist Schengen visas to citizens of the aggressor country. The reason is the large number of Russian Federation citizens traveling to the Schengen zone in the summer of 2025. The Telegraph reported that in 2024, the number of Russians staying in hotels in Italy and France increased by more than 19%. Bild reported that Germany wants to push for a stricter visa regime for Russians. The document prepared in Berlin contains a demand for the European Commission to fully implement the recommendations from 2022. Visas for Russian tourists should be significantly reduced. Meanwhile, Estonia has initiated a bill that will close the border with Russia. Discussions about closing the land border with Russia are underway in Latvia and Lithuania. Finland has maintained a complete closure of its border with the Russian Federation, closed the border from the Belarusian side, and so has Poland. Ukrainian defense forces have managed to cut off the wedge of Russian troop advances in the Donetsk region. As a result, a significant portion of the aggressor country's military has been encircled. The situation was commented on by Georgi Tuka, head of the Luhansk Regional State Administration in 2015 to 2016, in an interview with Priami TV channel. He recalled that several weeks ago, Russian units made rather rapid advances. However, on September 15th, the military portal Defense Express reported that Ukrainian defenders managed to halt this advance.
If they do manage to accomplish what Defense Express is describing, then most likely the Russians will be taken prisoner and exchanged for our guys. This needs to be done. It is extremely important to free our prisoners.
Journalist Magnaki stated that in the Dobropilya direction, the Russian Federation's troops are under threat of encirclement.
The main intrigue in this direction, and perhaps on the entire front, is whether the Ukrainian forces will be able to close this encirclement, effectively eliminating all the territorial gains achieved by the Russian armed forces during their breakthrough, as well as a large number of their personnel.
Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces clarified the results of strikes on the command posts of Russian occupiers in the Donetsk region on September 8th and August 28th. The military confirmed that enemy personnel were hit, including members of the command staff. They recalled that on September 8, 2025, units of Ukraine's defense forces delivered a comprehensive fire strike on the command posts of Russian troops in the temporarily occupied territory of Donetsk region.
The command posts of the Center Troop Grouping and the 41st Combined Arms Army of the Russian Federation's ground forces were hit. It is these enemy military formations that are operating in the Pokrovsk direction.
It is also noted that prior to this, on August 28th, the command posts of Russian troops in this direction were visited by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, Andrei Belousov. And shortly after his visit, the mentioned command locations of the occupying army were successfully struck. The President of the United States has made a new statement regarding the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine. Donald Trump stated that the Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be forced to sign a ceasefire agreement with Russia Trump also said that he would have to sit in the same room for negotiations with Zelenskyy and Putin since they cannot be together.
It takes two to tango. You know, these are two people, Zelenskyy and Putin, who hate each other. And it looks like I'll have to sit in the room with them because they can't be in the same room together. There's a lot of hatred there.
The day before, Donald Trump for the first time called Russia the aggressor in the war against Ukraine. As Politico writes, such a statement demonstrates a shift in his position toward Moscow.
This week, 8,000 soldiers from both countries have died, a few more from Russia, but when you're the aggressor, you lose more.
Meanwhile, it has become known that US President Donald Trump may meet with Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy next week in New York. This was stated by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Ukrainian side has not yet confirmed the possibility of such a meeting. Meanwhile, Zelenskyy called on Trump to take a clear stance on the issue of sanctions against Russia and security guarantees for Ukraine. In an interview with Scanius, the Ukrainian leader expressed the opinion that the head of the White House should personally take decisive action and make Putin fear him. Zelenskyy believes that the United States is strong enough to make its own decisions. On September 14th, Donald Trump stated that he is ready to strengthen U.S. sanctions against Russia, provided that Europe also tightens its restrictions in line with Washington's actions. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent believes that the Russian Federation's war against Ukraine would have ended within 60 to 90 days if European countries had imposed tariffs on buyers of Russian oil. According to Bessent, this would have cut off the main source of income for the Russian Federation.